Welcome to Core Growth Strategies, Positive Living and Success series. Throughout my life, I have learned that overnight success can take years to achieve. In my quest to embrace successful people who overcame struggles both personally and career-wise, I bring to you their stories to help inspire you to live your dream, keep moving forward, and becoming the best version of yourself. Hi, I'm Inez, and thank you so much for joining me on Core Growth Strategies, Positivity and Success Stories. Today's guest will surely bring a smile to your face. You may have seen him on True TV's hit show Impractical Jokers, or you may have read his #1 international best-selling sci-fi thriller Awakened. Perhaps you had a drink with him on the Caribbean, on the Joker's cruise, or better yet, see him perform live on the Crandis McBasketball World Tour with the Tenderloins. I am so happy to introduce to you my guest, James S. Murray, better known as Murr. Hi, James. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So,
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited because you have so many incredible things that happen in your life. And I kind of want to go back and start from the beginning about, how it all started, high school, meeting the guys and whatnot. So can you tell us a little bit about your history?
Sure. We met in 1990, freshman year of Monsignor Farrell High School. We were young lads of 12 or 13 years old. And we were trying to remember how we met. We met in different ways. I think I met Q first. My high school had a really good improv group. And I liked acting and things like that. So we met first doing improv together. And then I think Joe and Sal and I met shortly thereafter, days later, in religion class in Monsignor Farrell High School. And we became friends pretty quickly. Q and I were the closest friends at first because we did drama. We did the plays together. And then Joe and Sal and I became close friends shortly thereafter as well. And they stayed my best friends in high school for 4 years. Where there wasn't much to do other than prank other students because there were no girls in the school, unfortunately, which explains why I'm still single. It stunted my growth tremendously. Oh, no. and then we went to different colleges, and after college, I did improv throughout college. I was one of the founders of an improv group at Georgetown called the Georgetown Pledge, which is still running to this day. I'm very proud of them.
Oh, fantastic.
And then after college, Sal and I were on the ferry commuting to work, and we happened to run into each other, and we were reminiscing about doing improv together in high school and how much we loved it. And I told him about what I had done in college, and we said, why don't we put an improv group together? So we did. It was Sal, me, myself, Joe, and one of the original members, still a dear friend of ours, Mike Baccio, formed the Tenderloins comedy troupe. And Q was a frequent guest performer when we would do shows. And we did that for a very long time. We still are. But, we performed live for a very, very long time. We used to put up our own shows. We did kind of like something that was pretty, I'll tell you a BS story. This is like late 1999 we formed the Tenderloins. Costco had just come around. And if you remember, Costco's return policies was unlike anything, right? Yeah. Like, you know the store. You bought something at Circuit City back then, and it was like, to return it was a disaster, right? Yeah. But Costco had a no questions asked, return anything you want whenever you want. You can return it a year later. So the guys and I, we used to film our kind of combination of live shows. We do like improv, and we'd film these short like comedic videos or sketches, and we'd show the video before at the beginning of the show, and then do a live improv show. So I would go to Costco that afternoon of the show, like Saturday afternoon, and I'd buy, there were no flat screen TVs back then, right? And projector technology isn't what it is today. I would buy the biggest, the biggest giants. If you remember what TVs used to look like in the year 2000, they were these huge, heavy, 300-pound TVs that were, tube TVs, but we would buy like a 50-inch TV, which was like $5,000 back then, right? Now you can get it for like $200. And we'd carry it up the stairs into the theater, play the sketch that we filmed in front of the live audience, and then carry it back down at the end of the night, and I'd return the TV the next day for a full refund. We did that for like 3 years. It was super low, super ghetto.
That's so the first I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it was a funny time. But for the first couple of years, we did a lot of live improv shows.
Yes, tell me about, my favorite story is the one where you rented out the place for $50 or something.
Yeah, that was not that long ago. Yeah. The crazy thing is that story, we rented a theater called Rose's Turn, which I'm sure is not even there anymore. It was like above a bar. It was basically a small little closet, right? It could fit 50 people max in the whole place. This is not that long ago, by the way. This is maybe 12 years ago.
Oh, really?
The TV show's been on for 8 years, right? So it's not that long ago. And we rented the theater out. We're like, let's put up, some shows. One night, we rented the theater for $65.
Okay.
Right. It shows the kind of space we're talking about. And one night, 2 people bought tickets, and the two that bought tickets, the tickets were $5 each. Those 2 people were students of mine. I used to teach improv and sketch comedy, and then I used to teach TV pitching for a while, and I used to teach how to make viral videos for a couple of years too, because the guys and our sketches hit online, and it was like a crash course in the beginnings of viral videos, like when YouTube first started, and MySpace started. And so the 2 people that showed up were students of mine, so they kind of had to come, And so we made $10 on the night. We lost $55, and we split the $55 4 ways, but we still performed. It was an embarrassing night.
Yeah, but that's part of the process, which a lot of people don't realize, right? Because
it builds character, I think. When we did the show anyway, the show must go on, and I think it is important that that happened to us, because it teaches you perseverance and a lot of humility.
Right. And so I know that Impractical Jokers was not your first pitch. It wasn't your first go around.
Oh, it was the 3rd show that we sold.
Yes.
The first show, I had this moment in my life back in 2004. I was working as a casting director at the time, and I used to help run an acting school. And I was teaching a lot of improv as well. And I had this moment where I was just like, I'm not doing what I want. Like, this is not what I want to do in life. And I had this kind of like wake up moment where if I continue on this path, it will be this job I'm doing will become my life, and I don't want it to be. And I had this crossroads where I applied, I was like, maybe I'll become an agent, because I never wanted to audition. I never wanted to do that whole headshot and lining up outside of a hallway with 200 people for something. I just didn't feel that was the right way to go. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was a skill of mine either. And so I avoided it. I've never auditioned for anything in my life. And none of the guys have either. So I had this moment where I was like, maybe I'll become an agent. And I applied to Abrams Artists, and they hired me. And I turned the job, and they wanted me to move out to LA for it. And I turned the job down because I was thinking about it, and I was like, wait, this is another distraction from what I want to do. Mm. I don't want to be an agent. I never wanted to be an agent. I would probably have been pretty good at it if I tried, but it still wasn't the life that I wanted. And I turned them down, and they looked at me like I was nuts, because it was very hard to get a job as at an agency like that. And I turned them down, and I said, what do I want to do? I want to be on TV. I want to make TV. I want to make comedy with my best friends. And so I quit the job I was working at. I turned down that job, and I had nothing to go back on. And that was around the time that I wrote the book too. And
how old were you at this time?
Gosh, this is 2005, I guess. Okay. So 13 years ago. I'm 42 now. So yeah, it was, I guess, I was probably right around 30 years old. Mm-hmm. Which is a major crossroads in anybody's life, because you're no longer in 20s, you no longer seem to have, it's like things are starting to pass by. People are already formed. And by 30, I think a lot of people are formed, especially in more established careers that have clear paths of how to get from A to B. I think people have already formed in their personality, in their careers, and they're on a trajectory. We were not there at all. But I had this idea for a TV show. And I said, you know what, let me try making it my own TV show. And so I went out and got the guys together. Joe is the producer of it. Sal was in the pilot episode we shot. She was in the pilot episode we shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was originally called Crisscross. We renamed it I Never Said That. And I got it into the very first year of the New York Television Festival,
Mm-hmm.
which, and it got in the festival. And I was the first independent TV maker to sell a TV show to a network. It had never happened. And we sold it to A&E and shot 2 episodes of it with Tim Meadows as the host. It was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
And it didn't go to series. So just like overnight, I became an executive producer of a TV show I created, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't get anybody to pay attention to me. Even after selling my own TV show through my own way, I still couldn't get somebody to pay attention to me. Like no agency would meet with me. It was a crazy time, you know, because
How were you feeling during that time?
It's interesting. When I sold it, I felt finally vindicated because there's an idea I had. No one had ever done it before. It was literally the first year of the TV festival. There were no other TV festivals like that one. So it was the first time ever that's in this independent way, somebody was able to break into the TV system, the development process. So I felt vindicated, but then when they passed, because the show was hit or miss, it really was. When they passed on the series, I could get back into A&E to pitch shows, which I tried doing because I had the time, but I still couldn't get into any other networks to pitch shows. I still couldn't. I met with a couple of different agencies, but none of them would sign me. I couldn't get representation for anything because I truly believe that anybody can sell one TV show. The catch is, can you sell multiple TV shows and make them and develop them in a way that they go to series? That is a much more difficult skill to attain. So I was back. I felt at the end of it, I was back at square one. I still had no agent representing me. I couldn't even break a message. None of them wanted to pay attention. You know, I didn't have a series yet. I felt like I was back at square one. I really did. It was a tough time. It was a tough time.
Yeah. But you got through it. And so you
got
went on.
Through it. Then the guys, that was around the time that the internet took off, like YouTube and things like that. Literally, it was created like 2005, 2006, and exploding. And a friend of mine, a friend of ours, who was Mike Baccio, the original member of the Troupe, his wife, sent me an email one day saying, hey, you know, NBC has this contest where you can submit sketch comedy. They want to take the best of the internet, like internet sketch comedy, and put it together into a TV show. You guys should do that. You do a lot of sketch, you know, and I said, okay, that's actually a good idea. Mike had left the Troupe at that point, and Q had come on full time. And we were already, by this point, the other guys were formed in their lives. I was less formed. I was always uneasy. I always had these dreams of things I wanted to do, and I still wasn't there yet. I had written a book. I spent a year writing the book around that time. And at the end of the year, I sent a weekend out to, it was called Subterranean back then, 2 words, Subterranean. At the end of the year, I sent it out to every publisher in New York without representation, without a lawyer attached to the project or a manager or an agent because I couldn't get one. And it got returned to me unopened. A year of my life, not even considered. I couldn't believe it. I was like, gosh, damn it, there's got to be a way. You know, there has to be perseverance and ambition must ultimately pay off, don't you think?
Absolutely.
So even it was a rough time because in the span of like literally the same year, I couldn't get anybody to read my book that I spent a year writing, and I couldn't get, and the network didn't pick up I Never Said That for a series. So I literally felt like I was back at square one. I had this kind of like moment where I was like, geez, what am I going to do? And there were a couple of months where I had, you know, I was living in Brooklyn at the time in an apartment. I've never asked my parents to borrow money. And there was a couple of months where I did not have enough money in the bank for rent. And there was one month in particular, I had like $800 in the bank, and my rent was $1,200 a month, which is rent in New York City, which is cheap.
That's cheap for New York.
You know, and I was like an hour and a half outside of New York City. And I had to take a temp job I worked temping for a long time just to be able to pay the rent so I wouldn't have to ask to borrow money from anybody. And I remember that was not that long ago. And it taught me a valuable lesson of just, you know, just don't stop. Just keep going, you know. And it was a tough time because you start to wonder whether you hear this voice in your head. You close your eyes late at night and this voice creeps in your head, this voice of self-doubt, you know. And you wonder whether it'll happen, especially when you feel like you're not getting ahead, or just these walls keep getting erected in front of you. It is a very hard thing to push through and to have the drive and the willpower to keep going. And what ultimately I think helped me through and helped the guys through, that we all had that same kind of time of our lives, what helped us get through it was each other very much. Mm-hmm. So we all had ups and downs, and we relied on each other's talent and ambition and drive to keep building each other up to get past that moment. And that moment was not short. You know, we tell people we are a 12-year overnight success story. So, you know, right. It took a long time. Anyway, so the guys and I started shooting our sketch comedy because of this contest I heard about. Mm-hmm. And we submitted it to NBC, and we won a lot of it. We won $111,000 from NBC, which was for us mega money back then. You know, we won 11 of the weekly contests like in a row for our sketch comedy, and then we won the big $100,000 grand prize. Mm-hmm. And then we got featured in the pilot for this. Carson Daly had this pilot on NBC about this kind of these internet videos. We got featured in the pilot, and they asked us to. This is kind of like the second iteration of our careers. Mm-hmm. They asked the production company asked us to shoot a Meet the Tenderloins video. Oh. By that point, we were already formed in our lives. He was a fireman. Joe was the best personal shopper at like this high-end baby retail store in Manhattan. Hugh was a bartender, soon to be bar owner, and I was a TV producer, even though I wasn't getting paid necessarily as a TV producer, but I was developing a lot of TV shows. Yeah. And so we shot this 8-minute tape for NBC. They wanted to feature a little bit about our bios in the pilot, since we won the whole contest. And we shot this tape called Meet the Tenderloins, and it was very funny. It is. I watched it recently. I think they have it on playing at the Staten Island Museum, where they have the Impractical Jokers exhibit. Yeah. It is basically it's the original sales tape. This is a sales tape that sold our second TV show to Spike TV. Yeah. So we shot this video, and we sent it in, and literally a half hour later, the production company calls us that was making the pilot for NBC and said, "Guys, what you just submitted to us is its own TV show. This is separate." So they said, "We want to sign you because it was showed each of our lives and how we're best friends, and it told some of our backstory, and the tape was very, very funny." Yeah. And they said, we'd like to sign you to a deal to go out and pitch the Tenderloins as its own TV show. Mm-hmm. And we're like, F yeah, let's do it. We had never done that before. We'd never gone out as a group to pitch like that. And they flew us out to LA. Their agent became our agent. It was my first time getting an agent in my life. And then he wound up going to CAA. So then we went to CAA. So it was pretty cool escalation. And we went out to LA to pitch this Meet the Tenderloins. We didn't even know what the show was. We said it's a hybrid improv sketch comedy show. And we didn't even talk about the TV show pitch. We just BS'd in the room in the pitch meetings. And we immediately got a bidding war between 3 different networks for the show. Oh, one of them being Fox, the other being Spike, and then ABC was in the running, but then they dropped out. So it became Fox and Spike bidding for a pilot for our TV show. Mm-hmm. And it was like, man. And it was one of those times that I got outvoted, unfortunately. I wanted to go with Fox. I was like, this is Fox, this is Mad TV. Let's go, in living color. Let's go, try to succeed at Fox. And the thought process was, it's much easier to get a TV show on Spike than on Fox. Mm-hmm. So I get outvoted by the team, by everybody, and we went with Spike. I still wonder if there's a universe out there. Like, quantum physics says there are an infinite number of universes out there, right? Right. Every time you make a decision, a new universe splits off. So in a universe of infinite possibilities, everything is possible and has happened. Yeah. So there is a universe out there where I have hair. There's a universe out there. There's a universe out there where we went Fox instead of Spike, and who knows where maybe there would be no Jokers today. Who knows? And so we went Spike, shot a pilot. Again, did not go to series. They passed the show. But what it did do was it gave me finally connections to an agent. Mm-hmm. And then I said to that, I started pitching that agent TV show ideas. I said, I have a ton of ideas. I already sold one to A&E, and I started sending him my ideas. And that I'd been developing over the past 2 years prior to that. And he liked a lot of them. And he said, well, let me send you out to some production companies to pitch them your ideas. So I did. I started going out to meetings here in New York and LA and pitching TV production companies my projects. And very quickly, I had a couple of shows optioned by different production companies. One of the companies that I pitched a lot to was North South. Mm-hmm. And the owner of North South, a good friend of mine, Charlie Debevoise, said, why don't you come on in New York, work in development, and just pitch us for like a week or two. Just develop ideas for 2 weeks. So I said, okay. So he hired me for like 2 weeks. And then after the 2 weeks, he says, well, stay on for, a couple more weeks. So I did. And he kept extending it. And that first year at North South was a crash course in television. And the reason is this: I was working on my immediate boss was a woman who still works in TV development. Her name is Amy Rapp. She insisted that every Friday I come in with 25 new TV show ideas.
Wow.
So every Friday, I'd be up all night on Thursday night. Every Thursday night, I'd be up the whole night, staring out the window, daydreaming, thinking of TV show ideas. And her reasoning was sound, and I stand by her reasoning to this day. Her reasoning was this: the first 1,000 ideas you think of have already been done, are being done, or are terrible. You have to get past those first 1,000 to get to the really interesting idea, which is like 1,001th idea. And she was totally right. So every Friday I'd come in and pitch like 25 new TV show ideas.
Amazing.
Spanning genres, some scripted, some reality, competition, game show, formats, you name it. I was pitching everything. Docu-soaps, docu-series. Yeah. And I would literally be scouring the internet for days, just looking for inspiration, ideas, weird articles, people's personal stories. I'd be calling people during the week, hunting them down. It was a huge dose of casting as well. In addition to that, I was writing probably 5-6 TV show treatments a week entirely. And she'd give the TV show and say, here, develop this. And it was a crash course in retraining my brain how to write correctly. Because what you learn in school is not how you actually write when you're working in TV.
Right.
TV development is, which is why Awakened has a very specific style to it. And you've read it, so you know. Awakened is written like the fastest, sexiest kind of fast-paced action because I wrote it like a TV developer. You know what I mean? I wrote it like I would write a TV show. And in TV development, it's about the sexiness of something, the sizzle of it, not the steak, right?
Yeah.
You want to put forth your best, most exciting parts and de-emphasize your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So those first couple of years in North South, I wrote probably 1,000 treatments, honestly, for TV shows. And then I rose up pretty quickly. I became the director of development, then the vice president of development, then senior vice president of development. So I worked there for 10 years in development, even during Jokers. And it was the most I've ever learned about TV ever. It was a crash course in television.
Well, it was 10 years, and it was a process and consistency, and it was being open to learn and change your mindset.
Yeah, it was also I finally got to do what I really liked doing, and what I think I'm pretty good at, which is sales. I think I'm a good TV pitcher. I think I'm a good salesperson, and that's when you're in TV development, a lot of what a pitch meeting is improv. It's just riffing, and you have to be able to answer the questions like that as if you knew the answer, when half the time you hadn't even thought about it. Like, oh shoot, but you have to make it up on the spot. A really interesting time. And what I finally had access to do was to get into TV pitch meetings with different networks and make contacts with different networks, and to be pitching them TV shows. And when you're in the room, the TV pitch process is thrilling. It's adrenaline fueled. It's exciting, interesting, always different. And you learn and you get better and better at it. And it was a really fun time in my life. But I still wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing, truly. Because at the end of the day, when I go home and go to sleep, I still dreamt of the day where the guys and I were on TV, making millions of people laugh, performing again live on stage. We had kind of slowed down at that point. I still dreamed of everything we've created now, and I still wanted to do it. And after Spike TV passed on the pilot, when you sell a TV show, it takes up a year and a half of your life, because you sell it, you have to develop it, shoot it, edit it, then wait like 6 months for them to decide on a series. And it kills a year and a half to 2 years of your life every time you sell a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they passed on it, we had another crossroads moment, the guys and I, where we had been the Tenderloins for a very long time at that point. This was like 2010.
Yeah.
We were all in our own careers. My career was finally on track with what I liked doing, and I could have seen myself doing for a very long time, and I still do. But ultimately, there was still something inside of the four of us that was not satisfied. We still wanted to keep going. And we had one of those moments where we're like, shoot, we sold, we'd shot 2 other pilots. We still, weren't getting ahead. Do we stop? Do we quit? And I remember it was January 2010. We sold Impractical Jokers March 2010.
Okay.
January 2010, Joe sends an email out to Joe and I were roommates at the time. Sends an email out to the guys and I saying, he's out. He doesn't want to do the Tenderloins anymore. It's too much time. He wants to focus on his career and he wants to go into directing. And, clearly it's not going to happen. We tried twice. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And, I said to him, we were living together. I said, Joe, just think about it for a couple of days. Please think about it. 2 days later, Joe sends an email back to the four of us saying, okay, I'm back in. You know what I mean? I was like, woo, thank God. Yeah. I truly believe that nothing we've created works without all four of us together. There is something very special about their talent, our collective talent, our love for each other, our history. There is something relatable and very special about that. And take any one of us out of that equation, I think the house of cards collapses, Yeah. So thank God Joe said he's back in. And we literally that week, we said, let's get together. Let's give it one more shot. Okay. Let's try to create another TV show. So we got together at Joe and I's apartment. And literally the first idea, I had been working in TV development, I said, in North-South. And I'd heard a lot of hidden camera shows were coming back. Networks, when I was going to pitch meetings, networks were saying, hey, we're interested in the hidden camera space again, but we want something new or different. What's a cool spin on it? So CW had greenlit a pilot to bring Punk'd back with Justin Bieber, and there's a bunch of other pilots in development. So I said to the guys, I think I could sell like a hidden camera show. What can we come up with? Yeah. And there was pushback at first from a couple of guys because we consider ourselves comedians. We're like, we're not pranksters. We don't do that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah. Even though we mess with each other on a daily basis, we still consider ourselves like prankers, So the twist we came up with was Jokers, which is an upside down prank show. Not even a prank show, an upside down hidden camera show where the joke's on us instead of the public. It feels different. It doesn't feel like you're watching Candid Camera when you watch Jokers at all. And it certainly doesn't feel like you're watching Jackass either. Which is why the first season, we'd get reviewed and people are like, oh, it's like slightly smarter Jackass. Like, no, we don't get that comparison anymore because it's not. It has nothing to do. It's so. I think we've taken the format, the genre of hidden camera, and kind of pushed it in a different direction. And I think people realize that now that it's not Jackass, it's not a prank show necessarily. So yeah. And then we literally that night over sandwiches created Jokers. We called it Mission Uncomfortable. Shot the sales tape 2 weeks later. A month later, pitched it through my job to TV networks, and then and sold. And we had another Crossroads right then too, because MTV and True TV wanted the show. Okay. The difference was MTV wanted to recast the four of us because we were 34 at that point. We were not MTV's demo. MTV wanted to recast the four of us, but make it into a daily 5-day-a-week game show. Which in the TV world, when you sell a game show that's 5 days a week, they call it a strip show. When you sell a strip show 5 days a week, that could be big money in success. Okay. You can order 300 episodes at a time. 10 episodes. So MTV wanted to recast us, but just basically sent us a check for the idea of the show. True TV said, we want the show. We want you guys. You're our kind of guys. And they said, to their credit, the folks at True TV were amazing. They said, the executive that oversaw the project and we pitched to, Marissa Ranka, who's still there, said, sign with us. I will make you guys the face of True TV. And she was true to her word. And we cannot speak highly enough about her. She's one of the best executives in the TV business back then and even more so today, and could have easily signed with MTV and gone this way, or taken the final chance on ourselves and on the group, the Tenderloins, and gone with True TV. And I remember, obviously we were formed guys. Q was extremely happy and a successful fireman, had won medals for saving multiple lives as a fireman, and loved the career. And I remember driving out to Staten Island to his firehouse with the True TV contract. And we were talking outside the firehouse, and I put the contract down on the car, and I said, Q, we gotta try one more time. You know what I mean? Like, trust me on this one. Like, let's give it a shot, because if this works with True TV, it could be life changing for us. And but it was one of those moments we could have easily gone with MTV, and the show would have disappeared.
Yeah, you chose wisely. And even so, you just finished your 8th season of taping. Seven seasons. Season 7 is on TV right now. Season 8 we start in January. Right, but still, it still took a few years before people really caught on to your show. It did. Well, True TV was a smaller network, Yeah. But I ultimately think that, I guess one of the other lessons we've learned is that I think talent ultimately rises and people find it. And I think the show is, I think, still to this day, consistently laugh out loud funny. Very, very hard for a show to maintain. And I think because the DNA of the show, in TV development, you talk about the DNA of a show. And if a show either has good DNA or bad DNA, and it could destroy the whole series. Our show has very good DNA because the guys and we comes from a real place. We love each other dearly, and that love extends to our crew as a result. And our crew, many of our crew have been on from season 1, so it is very much like a family creating a TV show together. It's like, and the people, a lot of the people that work on our show were helping us for free in our sketches before, and these are people that we rewarded, and we finally were in a position in our lives to hire them on something, and we like to do that. I think loyalty is really important. The people that were there for us, we remember, and we try to give back to them. And the show, as a result, has very good DNA. The crew and us operate as a family. I mean, you spend most of your lives with these people too, And so with the show, you have all these other branches of it. You have your Jokers Cruise. Yep. Which you've sold out, correct? The Jokers Cruise is sold out. Quickly. I'm trying to move this up. I'm trying to think. The sun is moving. I don't know where to go. I'm sorry. This is a live interview. Deal with it. All right. Got it. Yeah, we do the cruise. The tour. The Crunches Festival show off of Impractical Jokers, right? Yeah, the cruise. The movie comes out next year. The Jokers movie. It's funny. I think it pushes the TV show into a bigger direction. It's one of those other moments too where we always dreamed of doing a movie together, and it's a huge gamble, and it's one of those moments in life. Literally, like 6 months ago, when well, I guess at this point, maybe it was almost a year ago that we signed the deal for the movie. And it was one of those moments where the four was like, this is another huge risk. Like, it's like that MTV, True TV moment. Like, we could, because if we screw up the movie, we could ruin the TV show. You know what I mean? And it's another moment in life where, like, you got to take the gamble. When else in life am I going to get to be in a movie with my best friends? I mean, how cool is that? And someone else is paying the bill. So we took the risk. We'll see what happens. No, I mean, you have such a loyal fan base too. I mean, they're really loyal. We're hoping the fan base goes with it. I think they will. The movie is very funny. Yeah. And you're currently on tour still with the Crunches Basketball World Tour. Indeed. I saw it twice. It was very funny. Thank you. Yeah, the new tour. The tour has been one of the most fun parts of our lives. Obviously, we come from a live tour background. We love performing. And when you shoot a hidden camera show, you don't know how it affects people. So, and the tour has been one of the most satisfying parts of our careers because we've seen it grow from comedy clubs. 5 years ago, we were doing comedy clubs, 200-300 people a night. At the end of the show, we literally go out with fans. We jump in the cars and go to the local town bar.
We were doing like part of the tour in these little comedy clubs in Iowa, you know, jobs, and the tour like changed our lives. I really would say it was so satisfying personally as a performer, and we really got a sense of how the show was affecting people. And that was the first time in my life that I realized the show was eclipsing, was bigger than we realized it was. You know what I mean? The show was eclipsing what we ever thought it was when we created it. When we created the show, I never thought it would be kids and their parents and their grandparents watching the show together.
Yeah.
I never thought it'd be like the show that people watch during dinner because they all agree on it.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought, and it wasn't until the tour that I realized something's happening. Like, you know, like look at all these kids in the audience. Something's different. And then the tour just exploded. And that night of Madison Square Garden.
Yes, tell us.
I 12 years ago, we played for 2 people.
Yeah.
You know, in the past year, we did 5 nights sold out at the O2. The Garden sold out. As a New Yorker, we did 3 nights at Radio City sold out. As a New Yorker, there's nothing that feels like that. It's it, you know. I remember I took the subway there because, you know, there's no faster way to go. So I'm going to my own show at the Garden. I'm taking the 2 train, the 2-3.
Fastest way to go.
It's the fastest way up there. So I'm in a suit, you know, got my bag, and I'm on the subway going up to Penn Station. And I come out of Penn Station. No one told me this. That this would be this way. I come out of the subway, and there are fans walking to the Garden. And I walk out, and I say, let me go live on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, show this kind of moment of arriving at the Garden. And I go live, and as I'm live, I look up at the Garden, and our team did not tell me this was going to be the case. This whole side of the Garden had a billboard of the guys that I sold, and it says, tonight, you know, Impractical Jokers, and it says sold out across it. And I'm sure the video, if you go back far enough, you'll be able to find it. Instantly, tears started streaming down my face. I'm getting caught up thinking right now. Tears started streaming down my face while broadcasting live, and I'm getting caught up right now. I'm getting
You're getting me teary-eyed.
I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about that moment because I had this flood of emotions of like, you know, I'm getting caught up. I'm sorry. And I couldn't believe it, you know, and my family was all there. They came up for it, you know, and to have the family, you know, my parents still healthy and there at the Garden, you know, and seeing that side, it was unbelievable. It was the best moment of my life for sure. And I'm not sure anything will ever compare to that moment of coming out of the subway. Yeah. Oh my God, I had chills on my arms, and it took me a half hour. It's going to take a few minutes now to recover from that moment of just, you know, feeling so, I cannot believe it. I felt so blessed. And I just could remember that night 12 years before when 2 people came and so many nights over the years where things could just have ended, you know, we just could have stopped trying.
You kept on trying. And, you know, another big accomplishment, of course, is your book.
Yeah.
And congratulations, #1 international bestseller.
Yes.
And
#1.
I'm watching the videos on how you interact with your fans when you were in the UK. And
that was crazy.
With them. I mean, you were there face to face having drinks.
That was, you know, HarperCollins has told us that no one has ever done anything like an event like that. We put together, you know, here's what happened. I was focusing so much on the US. We were here. I could not leave to go to the UK in June. We were still filming season 7. We'd just come back from the movie, and we had to start shooting season 7 again to hit air dates. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't promote the book in the UK like I wanted. And I promoted a lot in the US that week in June that the book came out, and we hit some bestseller lists in the US, which is great. And and we missed the UK bestseller list by 76 books.
Oh my goodness!
It tore me like everything in life. Like when I fail at something, it drives me crazy. I literally, my brain will swell, and I get like this kind of I black out, and I can't, you know, I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like, I hate failing. I hate it, you know. And I felt like I'd failed, and I felt like if I had been there in the UK to promote and to properly do it, if I had the time, I feel like we would have hit the bestseller list. And I was like, and I hatched this idea at the end of June, at the beginning of July, when we missed the UK bestseller list. I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. The book, I feel like I could do it. So I hatched this plan. I said, what if we put together, nothing like this had been done by HarperCollins, by any other publisher. What if we put together like this week-long book party tour where we throw parties for fans, and they buy tickets to come. The ticket includes a copy of the book, and they get to party directly with Darren and I. And we do book signings in different cities during the day, and we do these parties at night at these great venues, and we have a DJ there. And I mean, what else every night I bought hundreds of shots every night, And can you imagine going to a party and Stephen King with 200 of your closest friends and him buying you shots? It's never been done, right? Yeah. And we put together, my team put together this killer tour where every day, and Harper 360 and Harper US put together this plan where every day I hit like 1 or 2 different cities during the day doing book signings at bookstores, things like that. So fans that couldn't come to the parties at night or were too young if they had kids would bring the whole families in bookstores.
You had babies with you too, I saw.
Yes, so many people handing me babies, lots of babies. And then at night we did these parties, and for 6 days. And it was the hardest, it almost killed me. It was the hardest I ever worked in my life on a single project. And, but it landed us #1 on the international bestseller list.
Fantastic.
It all paid off, but it was
hard work.
Almost killed me in the process.
I'm glad you made it alive.
Yep.
So tell me about Misery Index.
Misery Index, a brand new show on TBS. We are greenlit for season 1. It is a great show. Have you ever heard of the game Shit Happens? It's a kind of like Cards Against Humanity. They sell it in every store in America. It's a very popular game. It's this game where you have like cards, and you take out a card, and on the cards are 2 different scenarios. So say, for example, one scenario is you walk in on your wife or husband sleeping with their ex. The second scenario is you step in the biggest pile of you-know-what while on your way to the biggest job interview of your life. And you have to debate what's the worst scenario on a scale from 1 to 100. Okay. They have experts that have analyzed these based on these situations and evaluate them based on your the psychological impact it'll have on you, the long-term impact, things like that. And so in the TV show version of the game, it's a TV show based on that game. And they have 2 contestants, and they give them 2 different scenarios, and they have to evaluate on a scale of 1 to 100 where on the misery index that scenario would fall. And but the answer has been given to us by a team of experts that have analyzed all sorts of variables about that gear there. So 2 of us are helping one contestant out, the other 2 helping the other one out, debate where to rank it on the scale. Okay. And it's funny as hell. It's what you love about Jokers. Of course, Jokers will still go on for many years. We'll still be doing Impractical Jokers. Yeah. But you'll get to see us in a kind of a new fun way on a game show, helping people win lots of money. And it's basically all the banter you hear us doing Jokers, like us BSing and ripping into each other and telling embarrassing stories. That's exactly what Misery Index is. It's the same kind of thing. It's us sharing stories and, that happened to me. It's very funny.
When does it begin airing? Do you know?
I don't know that yet. We start filming it soon.
Awesome.
So it'll start airing, I imagine, 2019.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I know you're such a busy guy.
Thank you for having me. I love, obviously, you are my favorite reporter, one of my favorite people in the whole darn world. You know that.
Oh, I love you.
You've been so supportive of the guys and I, and me especially, with your amazing article in Millennium Magazine about our careers and what we do. And I cannot thank you enough. And obviously, I've gotten to know your family, and they're lovely as well. Thank you. Hopefully, this story inspires some people to not give up on what they dream about doing in their lives. Because if you don't quit, you work hard, you too can have somebody taking a shower in the background of your apartment, even though you live alone.